Today, on Wisconsin Road Trip, the logging contracts kicked my butt not once, but twice. All this and more coming up, so let's get started. We'll start off with the Cat 745C, and we're going to work on the Repaying the Debts task. This is the only task that has logging associated with it. It requires us to pull a log trailer that's loaded with medium logs over to the lake house. We're going to do it a little differently. We'll run down to the logging station and load up a load of medium logs right away and deliver them separately. I'm doing it this way because we're going to use the logs that are on that trailer for another contract later on. So we're going to take our shortcut over to the logging station by running down this valley here, and we'll get loaded up right away. All of the logging contracts on this map require either medium logs or long logs or both, and then also some wooden planks to be delivered with them. We're not going to deliver the wooden planks today, we're just going to take care of the medium and long log deliveries, and we'll come back on the next episode and do all the wooden planks. It's still going to be a fair amount of work because there's 4 contracts I believe that we need to work on, and a few of them have multiple loads that need to be delivered. There's some hard to reach places on a couple of these deliveries as well, so it should be pretty interesting how it works out. Now that we're loaded up, all we need to do is run down the shoreline, and the lake house isn't far away, you can see it there. So we'll get turned around and head over there now. There is kind of a path that follows the shoreline here. It gets a little muddy when you get out into the water, but there's some rocks out there that keep you from sinking all the way, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue, especially with this truck. Now that we have that one delivered, we can start tracking the rail trail contract, which requires us to haul 2 medium logs and 4 long logs to the railway station. There's a logging station in the area that we can get loaded up at, so we'll head over by the Repaying the Debts task, then we're just going to drive straight up the hill through the trees and get loaded up. On the last episode, we took a couple trucks through that deep water section over by the railway station, and I'm pretty sure that the Cat 745C can get through there quite easily as well. The only thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that it doesn't have a snorkel, and that water gets a little bit deep, so we might take some engine damage. It shouldn't be too much to be concerned about, so we're going to give it a shot. It'd be nice if they gave the Cat 745C a snorkel, but then it would be pretty much unstoppable. So we did take a little bit of engine damage at the very beginning, but just by staying close to the side, we were able to avoid it for the rest of the way. You can see that logging trailer is just off to the right here. That's the one that's required to be turned in for that last task that we just worked on. Instead, we're going to pull it up to the railway station, and we'll get those delivered for this contract later on. Let's yank it up the hill, and we'll leave it by the tracks before we run up to get loaded up. There's no need to bring it up there with us. We can cut up through the trees here. It's quite a bit easier than going all the way around to get up to the top. Although there are a few paths to get up there, To the left here is a trail that goes up the rocks, and I don't even attempt to go up that because it's basically trying to drive up small cliffs. Or you can go further north and follow the road up from the backside. That's just quite a ways to drive, and I usually don't do it. Let's head back down through the trees. We'll go grab that logging trailer and bring it with us. Now we won't be able to turn these logs in that are on the trailer because obviously the cat doesn't have trailer support, but we can bring it over there, and when we come through later on to do the long logs, we'll just turn them in with that truck. By doing it this way, it's going to help us to avoid having to go back up to this logging station that we just came from. And also, when we return this trailer, it'll be empty, so we don't have to worry about tipping it over and spilling the logs along the way, because that part of the task is already done. We can start tracking the big trees to small homes contract. We need to haul 1 load of medium logs to the house in the south, so we can head out of the railway station here, and we'll go up to the next logging station and get loaded up with 1 load. This section through here is pretty muddy, but the cat doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all. Some of the other trucks will struggle through here later on though. We've already made it here. There's 2 loads in this warehouse. We're going to take 1 of them and just leave the other one. Every logging station on this map has limited cargo except for the one that's over by the gas station. So my approach is usually to just try and get loaded up with whatever logging station is closest to the drop-off, just to try to make things easier and the trips shorter. Then we're going to take the back road over to the house in the south instead of following the road all the way up and around. This cuts off quite a bit of time. You just have to be careful when you're going down this hill because these rocks will start rolling underneath your wheels and you can lose control pretty easily. Even with the big cat, you can tip over if you get going too fast. And then just cross the river and the drop-off is on the other side of it. Alright, next on the list, we'll start tracking delivery to the weather station. We need to haul 1 load of medium logs up to the weather station that's in the southeast corner of the map. This one is kind of hard to get to, so we can head up the hill and get loaded up one more time. Then we'll take the back roads all the way over there. This will be the last load of medium logs that we need to haul today. So as you can see, that part of it really isn't much work, at least not for this truck. But we'll be spending the rest of the time hauling all the long logs around to the different locations. And that's going to be a little bit tougher. I'm going to make a mark here just to remember where to turn off. we're going to run through the brick crafting area so we can get topped off with fuel from that generator trailer that we hauled over there on the last episode. Since we're done crafting, we're just going to use the remaining fuel in there as a refill source for our trucks. As you can see, that wasn't a very long trip either. So we got topped off. Let's head down the road all the way over by the gateway, and I'll show you a couple different paths that you can take to get up to that weather station. There is a logging station over here as well that we could have gotten loaded up at, and it would have been a shorter trip, but I guess it doesn't really matter which one you pick. Alright, to the right, you can see there's a couple different paths you can go up through here. That first one looks like a straight shot up there, right? And it is a direct route, but once you get to the top, it gets really steep, and there aren't any trees up there to winch to, so a lot of times your trucks will just power out when you're going up there. So I usually take the second path. It's also pretty steep, but there's a lot more places to winch to, and it's a lot less likely that your truck will power out before you get up there. Although the cat is feeling it here at the top. Okay, we got that one delivered. We're all finished up hauling the medium logs. Let's pull it off to the side so it's out of the way for the next truck when we come in here. We're going to jump back into the garage and we'll bring out the boar. We're going to haul some long logs with it. Let's pull up here and figure out which one we're going to work on first. We can start off with the contribution to farm restoration contract. We need to haul 2 loads of long logs to the farm, and there's a logging station right next to it that we can use that has 2 loads in it. Out of all the different contracts that we're going to be working on, this is probably going to be the easiest. This warehouse does have a limited supply, and you could choose to use them for another contract that's in this area. There's nothing wrong with that, but I have a different plan for that one, and I'm going to show you how I do it after we get done with this. So once you get loaded, the trip to the farm is a short one. You just have to drive across the flooded lake. And it is kind of muddy, but if you just make sure you use low gear and diff lock, you should be able to get through just fine. Then we'll turn around and head back over there. You can drive farther out in the lake here also, but it's a bit more muddy. I'm just trying to avoid taking the same path 4 times, so it doesn't get too tore up. Okay, we're all finished with that. Now we can start tracking the big trees to small homes contract. And this is the one that usually gives you some trouble. We gotta haul 2 loads of long logs up there in the corner to the house in the north. And the obvious path would be to get loaded and follow the main paved highway all the way back past the garage and the crafting zone, and then go through the swamp and up the steep hill. But I've got other plans. It's not necessarily easier, but I don't really want to drive through all that deep mud in the swamp. And then going up that steep hill is pretty tough as well. Most trucks will power out going up that way. Okay, now the road up to the logging station here is basically driving up this washout, and this is really tough to get up because of all the rocks and the deep ditches, but I just try to keep momentum going with the boar by leaving it in high gear as long as I possibly can. That does help to bounce over a lot of these rocks. And then if you lose that momentum, you can always switch into low plus and engage your diff lock if needed. And now let's take this back road up across the top of the hills. We came down this way with the Lodestar in episode 1 when we were scouting out the map, and that's the exact same path that we're going to take with this load of logs. There's a couple areas through here that get kind of problematic, and I'll show you how I address them as we go. We're also starting to get pretty low on fuel, so let's park the boar here for a second and grab a small fuel truck. We'll run this up the hill and get topped off before we continue on. Now the road does split up into a Y here, and we need to be on the left path, but it's almost impossible to make this left turn right away. So instead, I like to drive down the hill a little ways, and then we'll cut up through the trees. You just want to make sure you get up there before you cross the river. Just take it nice and easy when you're going through the trees here. Now I was trying to remember where I needed to turn off, and I think it's right here after these rocks. Let's check the map. We want to be right up there. Yeah, so let's back up a little bit. Then we'll turn up right between the rock ledge and those big mounds of rocks on the right. We can go right through the trees here. Then just make sure you take this corner wide enough so you don't drop the back of your trailer wheels off the bridge. Alright, the hardest part is done. There's a couple more spots up here that can also give you some trouble. We'll go over them too. When you get to all of these rocks here, maybe try staying to the right. That seems to be the easiest way to get through there, I think. And then this final ditch, you kind of want to cross it at an angle, going from the right up to the left. Otherwise, the front of your truck can get stuck in the ground, and then it's difficult to get through there. But we got one load delivered. Let's head back. We just got to haul one more, and then we'll be done with this. Getting back up this washout, driving over these rocks can be a bit of a pain too. It wasn't so bad coming down loaded, but being empty, trying to pull this trailer through here, the truck just wants to bounce around and slip on all of them. Now when you get back across this bridge, I usually just follow the road up around to the right instead of trying to go back through the trees. But I forgot that there's a major dip here, and I hit it a little bit too hard, and the dang truck tipped over. So I jumped into the Action thinking that maybe I could pull it over. And after giving it a shot from many different angles, and struggling to get anything accomplished, to the point where I started rolling down the hill. But I wasn't giving up just yet, so I gave it one more shot, and I lost it. Pulled myself around to the point where I got stuck between the rocks. So I brought out the big guns, and the P12 made short work of it. I should have just started with this. I'm going to pull this truck off to the side. No reason to recover it. We might need it again. But we're not out of the woods yet. The boar still needs to get out of here, and it's really uneven. We finally made it. Okay. Problem solved. We made it back. Let's get one more load and we'll head up there again. Hopefully we don't have any problems this time. The boar uses quite a bit of fuel, so I try to drive as much as possible with the all-wheel drive turned off. Just leaving it in low gear with the diff lock engaged. It can be the difference between 30 liters per minute and down to like 15 or 16, so oftentimes it only uses about half the amount of fuel. It's going to feel good when this trip is over. This is by far the hardest one out of all of these to do. It's starting to get a little bit more tore up going through this ditch again, now that this is our third trip through here. Alright, that one's over with. From here we're going to work on the rail trail contract. We need to haul 4 loads of long logs over to the railway station. The first one we're going to grab at that same logging warehouse that we were just at. And then the other 3 we'll get from the 2 logging stations that are close by there. See if we can get back without tipping this truck over again. I did notice the 4th time through here that it got quite a bit harder. The mud is now starting to get pretty deep, and the rocks are just feeling bigger underneath my truck, and I'm getting high centered. Even once I got out of the rocks, the mud is just still really deep. But we won't have to come this way again. I'm gonna get topped off with fuel and repair real quick before we head by here. And then I'm gonna take it really easy over this dip. This is like the worst place you can tip a truck over. Okay, now that we're loaded, heading out of here, you can go back down the washout to the main road, but then you'll have to drive over by the paper factory and follow that back road in, which is okay. I just don't like driving down that washout because the rocks are so big. So another option is just to continue straight ahead. We'll go right past the watchtower here. And there's a couple different ways you can get down. The first road here to the left is all rocks. It's a real pain to keep control, so I'm not going to try that one. And then up ahead there's another option that takes you down into the power station that we just got running. But that one is all rocks too, so I'm not going to take that one either. If we just continue following the road, it'll take you down a real nice gradual hill over to the pavement. Once we get the first load dropped off, we can connect to the medium logging trailer and we'll turn that load in too. Alright, we got 3 more loads to pick up. There's 2 warehouses in the area that have 2 loads in each of them. Going by the dam, we might as well get topped off with fuel. I don't believe we'll need all of the fuel in that tanker for crafting. And then I'm not going to take the road going up those rocks. That's just going to be a nightmare. So instead, we'll drive down a little ways and we'll go up through the trees where we came down with the big cat. Alright, the next load we're going to grab from the other warehouse. So you just want to take a right once you get past the stumps. And then drive up the same way we did with the big cat. But this is where I managed to hit some more big rocks and flipped over. Thankfully, we had the Dan in the area to get rescued with. Now the fourth and final load, we'll head back up to that first warehouse and grab the last load out of there. We could have gotten all 4 loads from these 2 warehouses, but instead I brought the first load on the way over here so that we'd have 1 extra load available to us, and I have a specific plan for that one after this. It's going to make our lives a lot easier in the future. This medium log trailer still needs to be turned in for that task that we started with, but we're going to do that later on with one of the other trucks when we're heading by there. Now we can start working on the delivery to the weather station contract. We'll need to get 1 more load of long logs and haul them up to the top where the big cat is sitting there parked. And this is where I realized that I filled up the wrong truck with fuel. But I'm too far away now. I'm not going to back up to get topped off. So we'll just have to make do. I also marked the wrong logging station to get loaded for the weather station job, and the other one wasn't showing up on the map as having cargo, and I couldn't figure out why. Then I realized it was because I already had a load on my truck. So we'll mark it anyways because we're going to run up there to get loaded for that one. This load is going to the sawmill, where we can craft wooden planks with it. And with long logs, you can get 4 wooden planks for each individual log. So by taking this load up here, we were able to stock up the warehouse with 12 wooden planks. That's going to help out quite a bit later on. This is the first warehouse that we marked. There aren't any long logs left in there because we turned them in over in Grainwoods River for one of the tasks. So we'll go up to the next warehouse and get loaded. I was thinking I should get topped off from the generator trailer here, but once I checked how much was in there, and I started thinking about the fact that we have some work left to do with the Paystar in this area, I figured I better not, So instead, we're just going to take the chance and see if we have enough to get up to the top. It looks like we have plenty, but we still have some challenging terrain to get through, and this truck really burns through the fuel. Getting into this logging station here is kind of difficult. So as you can see, we're down to less than half a tank now, just from that little trip in and out of there. We still got to make it to the top of the weather station. If you've done this contract, you know that going up that hill with long logs is pretty difficult. So rather than taking the same path that we took with the cat, I'm going to show you another path that goes up through the trees here, kind of like in Yukon, how we took that alternative route. And this will make it a lot quicker and easier. We honestly probably would have ran out of fuel had we tried to take the same path as the cat. But we didn't. We made it up here. We got these delivered. And that's it for the long logs. On the next episode, we're going to continue working on all the wood and plank deliveries for these different contracts and get them all done. We'll see you then. Appreciate you being here, and thanks for watching, everybody.